I'm going to talk about Spade, which is another platform that is also busy with data onboarding and making it easier and so on and so forth. However, this platform is more geared towards the storage provider as opposed to the client. So it tries to see what can we remove from the entire cycle, so that it is easier for a storage provider to operate with this. So this is the current diagram of the Spade service, and I have a summary on the next slide. So now I'll just point out, and then you can see on the next slide actual bullet points. So we basically start with a storage client, who is what we call the data owner, and all they need to do is somehow give us PCIDs, requirements to how to store this, and requirements for the SPs that will be storing this, and the replication policy of how many times, where, how, and so on this thing is supposed to be stored. They come up with this on their own. They don't need any help from us. They just maybe they use some tooling that we wrote for them, but in general, all the data owner does is host the data, makes it available over HTTP, and says which SPs are, what kind of storage providers are supposed to get this data. Then we have the broker service that takes this data in, and then also takes in responses from Know Your SP service, which is something like a identifier service for storage providers. So we know that this storage provider ID is from this country, and this one is from this country, and so on and so forth. This gives us a list of eligible SPs, and they are fed into the broker service, which then gives these storage providers storage deals when the storage providers request them. And I'll show you in a bit how this happens. We also have an oracle that watches the chain and its state, and can decide when something has been replicated enough and when it needs more replicas. And we also have the validation retrieval pod that checks if the SP requirements and the policy that the data owner wanted is being honored through time. So, for example, the data owner wanted retrieval over HTTP or over BitSwap. We continue checking every day, every week, for the duration of the deal of the storage contract, whether this is in place. And if this stops, we just take them out of the available pool, and these storage providers do not get data anymore, and their friends do, and this is how this works. So this is a summary of how the Spade service is actually built. There is the tenant service, which is this part where the data owners can add extra data to the system and can sign up for the system. This is now under quite heavy development. We have this KYB service. We call it ground control. We have the retrieval bot, which is this thing, the chain state oracle, this thing, and we're looking to make it publicly available with all its goodies as an actual standalone oracle after NV21 ships. We have also an extra thing here that I didn't cover, which is an ability for the storage client to do remote signatures by never giving us their wallet with the data cap, but we take care that their message gets signed, gets on chain, and so on and so forth. So the data owner always keeps their key locally. And then we have the broker service, which is this part right here. So as I said, the tenant service is currently in very active development and not yet open for new data owner signups. But we have a few data owners here. And as most of you, I assume, are SPs, this is what would be interesting to you. So today we have two large data owners, and we keep them in public alpha for any SP to sign up. Internet Archive, you all know the Internet Archive tries to, to save all the pages on the internet. They have a few locality restrictions. They, for policy reasons, they cannot work with storage providers who are in mainland China, basically behind the Great Firewall. But anything else outside of the firewall is fine. And then we have DuckHouse, which are smaller volume, but they have no restrictions at all. There is a link in the slides. We didn't get a chance to do a QR code, but there is a lot more information on how to sign up, the actual links where you enter your SP data and so on and so forth. This is an example of one of the policies that I was talking about. So this is the actual policy of the Internet Archive. Remember this, like this CID. I will show it in a moment in actual action. But it's basically saying that this particular data set comes from the Internet Archive. This is what they do. This is what kind of content they store. So for example, if you have a visit from certain agencies asking you, what are you doing with your storage provider? You can actually demonstrate that you're storing what the Internet Archive said is, backup data and so on and so forth. So there is a certificate with every deal, what is in it. And they have certain amount of replica limitations, how many copies in total for each individual file, how many per storage provider organization, how many per city, country, and continent. And then their requirements for retrieval. So currently, because it is an alpha, Internet Archive is looking for free retrieval for the length of the contracts, and they're looking for ways to incentivize this further. Of course, all of these contracts come with data cap, which Internet Archive obtains on their own. So the SP does not need to do anything for that. And I was going to give you a demo. Awesome. Okay, sorry about this little snag, but now we have an actual demo video. Let me double check that it actually plays. It does play. Perfect. Okay, so I actually removed the audio from it because it's from another demonstration. I wanted to talk to it as it unfolds. So in the sign-up link that I mentioned earlier, in the like 4 slides back, you have all of these commands, and there are multiple clients also that can use this API and make things nicer, built by the community. But I want to show you the API internally, just how simple it is. So I'm an SP. I actually have this SP ID. It's not an active SP, but I still have the worker key. And this particular little program is what authenticates me to the service. So the authentication for the Spade platform happens through the chain. As long as you're an active SP, you can use it. You don't need to like sign up or anything like this. And what I'm doing, I'm calling our API, and I'm asking for eligible pieces. And it will run in a moment. Come on. There. So this is what the response looks like. So it tells me that, chain state, blah, 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 things like this. And currently, I do not have any deals available to me. Why is that? Because this particular SP is actually not signed up to anybody. So it is not approved by a data owner that this SP ID can get contracts from them. So if we go a little bit further in, we will try with a different storage provider ID, which I have set up to be eligible for the Internet Archive dataset. And we're going to run this. And we get that. So I limited it to the first 2 records, but basically what you get is a very long list of records, which says, you as a storage provider, this one, so 16309 is eligible for this entire list of PCIDs. They are that big, so 16 gigabytes. This is the policy attached to this particular storage contract. It's the same policy that I showed you earlier with, with all the replication, what the content is inside, and so on and so forth. So you both sign that you will abide by the SLA, you will offer the pre-retrieval, but also you sign that the storage, that the data owner told you what is inside. So it's a two-way handshake. And if you want this particular PCID, you reserve it so that the moment this reservation goes through, nobody else can bump you out of the replication per city or replication per continent or something like that. So this is what I will run in a moment. I talk a lot here. Whoops. There we go. So I talked about the policy. That's right. I apologize. There we go. So I'm going to take this entire command and I'm just going to issue it as is. Again, I am authenticated through myself and I'm calling all this, that I want to reserve this piece with this CID, with this policy. And what happens then is I get a reservation. So I do have an actual deal queued for this PCID going to the storage provider, and it was successful. And with this reservation, now there are 4 total out of max total, and there are just enough replicas within the same city, and there are still replicas available in the country and continent, but it doesn't matter because the total is now at 4, so nobody else can get this PCID registered to them because enough replicas have been reached. And I'm going to show one more thing. I'm going to run this again, and I get a 403 now because I'm a storage provider that is asking for the same thing again, and I already have a replica proposed to me. So nobody can double book a particular PCID. And once this goes through, what happens is in the background, the actual contract is being put together, is being signed by the client, is being returned to me, and then is sent to the storage provider as a contract for published storage deal. Now, obviously, this will change in NV21, so in a few months, but from a Spade perspective, nothing will really change in terms of what the SP sees, because you're still going to be requesting copies, you are going to get a reservation that is successful, and you're going to get the data cap allocation prepared for you as before. And once all of this happens, here I'm showing a storage provider that is a real one with actual state in the chain. And this is their reservations. Sorry. Those are their reservations already in place. So they had a few failures because the reservation could not be proposed to them, or they didn't complete their reservation. So the deal start of the deal that they got was missed without activation, and then this proposal goes back into the pool. But there we go. Once the deal has been delivered for you, or the contract has been delivered for you, or once the after ND21, once the Field Plus allocation is ready to go, you have a successful pending proposal, and the storage provider, you just get the URL, you download it, you seal it, you're done. And you just repeat this over and over again. And yeah, that's pretty much the demo that I want to show. Since we have some time, we can actually go back for some questions. This is pretty much my presentation. Thank you.